Hey there painters, welcome back to NFIHammer, your channel documenting a beginner's journey into all things Warhammer. Today we have something special. It's the June model of the month, and this time it's a Saurus Warrior. Get ready to unleash the might of the great plan with this reptilian brute. As always, this model comes unassembled and unpainted, and they let you take it home with you, so I'm just diving straight in and assembling it. The first thing I'm noticing is that the model is actually quite chunky. There's quite a lot of plastic, which is a lot more than, the very delicate Necrons that I've been working on. So I'm getting pretty excited. It almost feels like the size of the terrain, even though it's a unit. And assembling it was pretty straightforward. It's kind of obvious where every piece went, so maybe I'm getting smarter or maybe it's just a little bit easier, but I didn't really struggle too much with the assembly this time. And I'm going to spray paint it with white primer spray paint. I haven't really done this very often, but I thought it might really help bring out some of the colours. Once it was finished priming, I've got this new shade that I wanted to try out. I've got this because I've got a Leviathan box coming and I'm excited to try painting some Tyranids. So I've got this Druchii shade, I don't know, I'm mispronouncing it, and I thought it would help make the model look purpley, but this was a horrible idea because the white is so bright that it really is kind of looking ridiculous. The paint in the crevices was so dark, and then the tops of the scales were so bright, it really was a bit of a fail. So to rectify the situation, I decided to kind of reset the model by painting it a base color of Dechala Lilac, and this will kind of provide me a fresh start and kind of set the stage for attempt number 2. And I should have really just done this to begin with, but I guess lesson learnt here. So I'm just kind of going over the whole model. And while it's drying, I thought I could start on the shield. So I didn't glue the shield on and I kept it separate. And I'm kind of painting it this Rhinox Hide to give it a bit of a wooden color, as well as the leg pads on the model. So it's kind of giving it a little bit more color than just a big blob of purple. So it's kind of starting to shape up. So the definition of insanity is trying the same thing again and expecting different results. So maybe I'm slightly crazy, but I decided to put the Druchii violet shade on again. But this time it's kind of working a lot better the way that I envisioned it to work the first time. So the cracks of the scales are kind of where the shade's pooling and it's creating a dark color. So then I tried to put Retributor Armour on the shield while it was drying, and I was trying to avoid getting it into the wooden areas, but that didn't work. So I've also picked off some highlights on the weapon. I just thought since I had paint on the brush, I might as well paint them gold, but I wasn't really originally intending to do that. So for the bigger, thicker scales, I thought of just painting on Venetian purple directly onto the scales to kind of separate them from the scales on the top half of the model. And in my mind, it's kind of like these scales are kind of more like tusks or like thicker. So in the mouth, I'm trying to paint a batten black just at the back of the mouth to kind of create an illusion of depth. And then I'm using Mephiston red for the eyes and the tongue. And I went with red. I was kind of tossing up what color to go. Originally I was going to go yellow, but I ended up using yellow for the rope. So I thought red kind of looks dragony, if dragony is a real word. And I'm also just kind of touching up areas where I didn't mean to get paint with the base lilac purple color. Hoping that it's not too noticeable. But it's kind of coming together, and I definitely like that I kept the head separate. And so Corax white for the teeth, just to kind of make them pop a little bit. So as I mentioned earlier, I decided to paint the ropes yellow. I'm not sure why, but in my brain, maybe I played too many video games, but rope and yellow seem to make sense, but I think in real life it's probably not the right color, but it kind of helps break up the model. I think it's actually really clever by Games Workshop to put these ropes on there, otherwise it just looks like, you know, one monocolor, whereas this kind of really breaks it up into little segments. I'm trying not to get too much paint on the model, but I do kind of, but it's not really noticeable in the end. Once that was done, then it's time to move on to the weapon. So I've just got some Leadbelcher here, and I'm just trying to avoid getting it into the gold sections. As I'm applying it, I'm realizing it does look a little bit too manufactured, too pristine, so I made a mental note to come back later and apply a bit of a shade to it. And then the top of the club, my brush is way too big, but I'm trying to paint the little square section of the top silver, but it doesn't really work very well. I really do need to invest in some better brushes. This is a $1.25 brush from Bunnings that I got, so I should probably get a more expensive packet. So when I was applying the ropes, I noticed that there's a lot of bangles and chains on the model as well, which I originally thought was rope, but when I actually inspected it closer, yeah, they're kind of jewelry or just kind of decorative things. So I'm using Runelord Brass to create like a bronze color on them, just to kind of help give it a bit more colors and variety, whereas if I painted it silver or gold, it would kind of look a bit boring, because those colors have already been used on the model. But feel free to substitute it to whatever you want. I don't think there's a right or a wrong way, and I've gone completely off the book by painting it purple in the first place, as that's not the color on the box, but I just had a lot of purple paints that I wanted to try out, so yeah, just decided to give it a try. So because I messed up the first time with the shield, I thought I'd come back again and try and paint the wood in rather than trying to paint the gold over the top, but I did kind of make a little bit of a mess, unfortunately. This is a bit disappointing, and then I realized the leg pads, I had missed the edges of those, so I just went in trying to complete it from every angle. Sorry, I forgot that I was filming and a little bit of this is off screen. It's so hard to try and balance recording and painting when you're trying to figure things out at the same time. So then I just applied an Agrax Earthshade over the weapon, just to kind of, as I mentioned before, make it look a little bit more battle hardened. I can't imagine these dinosaur creatures having, you know, the best model, the process of building weapons, so I think having them look a little bit more worn makes a lot more sense. And I'm also doing it on the little bells attached to the tail or whatever they are. And then with the shield as well, I thought I'd just put a really thick coat over it because I've made such a horrible job with the lines that maybe it'll be less noticeable if it's all covered. So now it's basing time, so I have some PVA glue here that I got from Kaisercraft, and I'm just kind of applying a thick amount of that, trying to avoid getting it on the feet. And then I have this Desert Sand and Stone, which is my very expensive basing product, the most expensive sand I've ever bought in my life. And I'm just kind of dipping it in there and trying to brush off any around the edges. So then I also put a little bit of static grass onto the base just to help break it up, as I've done with all the other free models, and I've decided to paint the rim purple. So this is the final product. I can't tell if it's a fail or a win, so let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I think part of me is kind of happy that I went off and not like followed the box art and just did my own thing, but part of me is also like, it looks kind of weird and different. That may be an okay thing, but I'm not sure. Jury's still out, maybe I just need some more time to digest it. Anyway, if you've watched the video this far and you've liked it, please subscribe, it really helps me out a lot. Either way, I will catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.